everyone, this is David Ellis back with Amir Jahangiri, and today we are going to do a very special show on symbolism. Now, whenever people think about symbolism, they generally tend to think about, well, this represents something to me, but they're not quite sure what it is. And when you're coming into industries like metaphysics or healing and so on, symbolism becomes very complicated, and it doesn't really have to be. So today, in sort of a promotion for our upcoming course on spirituality, we're going to be teaching you guys the basics of symbolisms, how symbols arise, how they are created, and why they exist. Okay. Now, Amir has just done a course on the Kujikiri some time ago. And what is a mudra except a body symbol? So I'm going to turn my mic over to Amir, and he will talk to you for a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, my warmest greetings to you. It's an honor to have you with us. I'm very grateful for your valuable time. It is serving you. That is the reason for UCM existing. So my esteemed colleague and I today, we're going to be speaking about symbols, their meaning in many different aspects, but specifically in spirituality. So if you've ever opened a book on esoterics, on magic, on spirituality, these are layered with different symbols. At first glance, it's going to be very, very difficult to make heads or tails of it. But please keep in mind, these are created intentionally. No detail is accidental. Everything has a meaning. And so you have to look at these in a multi-layered way. And it's not just something you look at once and you get everything. You have to revisit and investigate and study and meditate upon these things. So it's an interesting broadcast we have for you today. So, David, let's dive right into it.
Okay, so I suppose there are many different ways of teaching symbolism, and we are going to be teaching symbolism in the near future as well. But we wanted to give you guys a preview to make your lives easier when you're dealing with symbols. So one way is to combine the sciences. So when we think about symbols, we think about, well, we have the alphabet, we have the numbers, and yeah, we do that. Did you know that mathematics has more than one layer of understanding? Did you know that? Or do you just think 1 + 1 = 2, and that's all the experience you have of mathematics, the standard deviation, and all that stuff? Calculating standard deviation, calculating vectors, calculating angles, and so on. These things are there to teach you something. So one of the very popular ways of teaching symbolism is to teach it by the numbers. Okay, so I'll explain what I mean by that. If you think about the decimation system, numbers 1 to 10 as an example, you would have an idea that 1 means that there's only one thing and there's nothing apart from that one thing. What does that sound like? Does that sound like your understanding of God? It kind of sounds like that, doesn't it? One thing, one giant thing. So when you see dots anywhere, like a little dot, a little glowing dot, or whatever else, it usually represents something that we like to call the monad. The monad is the one thing, right? That uno existence, so to speak. And so when you see that dot by itself with nothing around it and so on, it generally tends to represent unity, the monad, the God figure, or whatever else. Because when you think about God, you think about one thing and there's nothing separate from that thing. The creator's everywhere. He created everything. He even created the demons in hell and so on. They didn't spring out of somewhere else. So your understanding of the prime creator starts with 1. So let's teach this by the numbers first of all, shall we?
Yes.
All right, so you got this dot and it's like existed in time and space. And then, you know, you think about two. So let's put another dot out there. For those of you who have pen and paper, you're going to need it because this first part of our lesson here is teaching you something integral that you could use for the rest of your esoteric career. What we're aiming to do is make your practice real so that there is no hit or miss in terms of your practice. We're trying to make your practice very real. So if you have a dot, put another dot on the paper and then join the dots together. And the closest distance between 2 points is what?
Straight line. There we go.
Right. All right. So let's say that you have the straight line. So that would be, guess what? Two things. You have now 2 points of interest. And so the straight line, that line is going to represent the duad, the thing that came out of the dot. Make sense? I'm going to let Amir chime in here because in terms of the monad or the duad, a lot can be said, but we're going to try to move this on. But Amir, jump in here.
Well, this system that David has just begun to introduce is very, very ancient, and it has found its way into many different esoteric and also scientific practices. So basically the first mathematicians, chemists, physicists, they based their understanding of physical reality upon this structure. But I would like to just include an addendum that this has never stopped, that basically understanding of numbers and mathematics is the method that we comprehend the infinite universe. And so as we go on, we see more symbols and layers of meaning added to these numbers. But even today, with our most cutting edge technology, you see first comes the mathematics. Some genius somewhere in a basement comes up with a formula that they don't quite understand, but the math is correct, right? 2 and 2 is 4. Just make it infinitely more complex. And in many cases, decades must pass before they finally understand what the hell this genius mathematician actually discovered. No Nobel Prizes for the poor chap or for the poor lady who's discovered this. And, we don't probably even know where these ancient systems of numbers come in numerology, in sacred geometry. It's a fascinating story. You can dedicate your entire life to this. But it's science in its purest form, most beautiful form.
I know a lot of you out here are saying this is going to sound weirdly like sacred geometry because that's the basis of sacred geometry. And the reason why we're giving you those keys is because a lot of you are magical practitioners, but y'all do it intuitively. I said that they are technical magicians and then they are people who feel. Ideally, you should be both. So we're filling in the technical side. And so the next thing that I would have to say is put another dot on the page, anywhere on the page. The closest distance between two lines is 2 points is a straight line. And so when you connect the dots, you have your first triangle. And you want to know what the triangle is a symbol of. It's a symbol of manifestation. It is your first two-dimensional figure. For those of you who like to quote phrases from other metaphysicians about we live in a 3D or 5D world, two-dimensional world is a flat world. That's what it is. And I am also going to be tying this into the whole quantum physics realm. Okay, so a two-dimensional world, if we were all living in a two-dimensional world, would be very, very flat. Flat, like flat. Some of us actually have personalities that are from the two-dimensional world, but we're not going to get into that. Right, so we're coming to the two-dimensional idea. And so this is basically what you are doing. I'm taking you guys back to school. So I don't care whether you made an equilateral triangle or an isosceles triangle. It does not matter. Put another dot above that creation and join the points. And then you would have your first prism. And the first prism is the first three-dimensional figure that you have. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. You got the dot, and then you got the line, and then you got the triangle, right? The triangle would be your first esoteric symbol, so to speak. And it's not a celestial symbol, it's an esoteric symbol. And so when you have your first triangle, you know that a lot of things are made up of those triangles. Come on, guys, you all know this. The Star of David, your hexagram is made up of a ascending and descending triangle, as an example, right? We get the idea? You guys are seeing where I'm going with this. This symbolism class will probably go more than once, more than one episode, because that's so much that we can learn from symbols, because we haven't even gotten into the curves or anything yet. So you got, and your pentagram actually is interlocking triangles. But if your mind doesn't see it, when you draw a pentagram, it's an interlocking triangle base. But we're getting to that. So I'm just going to say that you got your prism, we got your 4 dots on the page, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, and you got your prism. And now we introduce our famed, esteemed, deceased colleague, Pythagoras. Did you know that Pythagoras was a metaphysician? A very smart one, because he was trying to create a codex for how God operates, which is why a lot of these guys ended badly, actually, now that I think of it. Democritus, Hippocrates, Socrates, they all ended rather badly, didn't they? So anyway, he was trying to create a codex for how God operates, how he sees and understands things. And so the prism was the three-dimensional world that he created. Now, I suppose you're probably going to ask yourself, what are the symbols that have 4 points? Well, I could think of a few of them. I could think of the cross, for instance. That would be a prism lying down. I could think of a square, for instance. These are 4 pointed figures. You guys see where I'm going with this? The cross, like your Holy Cross, as an example. And you're probably going to ask, what are the symbols that we have that, apart from the triangle with the three elements in it? The yin yang symbol has 3 elements in it. 2 of them are obvious. You got the little swirly thing to the left and the black swirly thing to the right. Okay, but you missed the circle that's holding them in. And just for our symbolism class, whenever you see a circle, it represents the universe. It represents infinity, the universe, all that is. All right, Hamir, jump in here, because we're going to move along steadily with this symbolism class.
So I'm just going to add another piece of trivia. So understanding numbers leads to understanding the methodology or the architecture of the universe beyond the physical realm. And so this is something that very unfortunately modern science has neglected. And I'm very hopeful one day it will be reintegrated. So the uses of sacred geometry, what is it? So you can basically think of accessing different domains of existence. You keep hearing about dimensions of reality, 4th, 5th, 6th, 12th, and so on. Well, these symbols based on numbers, based on fundamental geometry, give you access to these different domains. So if you're a serious metaphysician or an eager student, this must be part of the curriculum. You absolutely need to know these. But the beauty of it is You don't need to fully understand something to be able to use it. But oh boy, if you understand, then it gives you the ability to create, modify, or maybe outcreate if you're in an adversarial situation. So what else can be said? Oh my God, a lot can be said.
Yes,
It's one of
that's why this has to take up more than one episode. And I'm trying to get through this as fast as possible. For those of you who don't understand this, we invite you to join our community and ask questions. We have a sacred geometry person inside there who can answer a lot of these questions. And I suppose we need to get on to the fifth dot. We're now halfway through the decimal system. And so the fifth dot, you have your prism, put a dot underneath the prism and join the points. Now you have a prism that has rotation, a mirror effect, so to speak. As above, so below. The prism now has rotation above and below. I am telling you the technical story of creation right now. I'm telling you the technical story of how things manifest. I am leaving it to your judgment to update your manifestation skills by understanding mathematics, by understanding sacred geometry, by understanding why you go wrong. Okay? And so we're doing a rotation on the prism. Okay, the prism now has a mirror effect. It's facing up, it's facing down. And so that would be our fifth dot. What other symbols we know have 5 dots in them? Let's see, the pentagram, pentagon actually. And you know, a lot of people generally have issues with the number 5 quite a bit, because in some traditions, they tend to think that it represents the beginning of evil, while it represents the beginning of the opposites. So if one thing is pointing up, the other one is pointing down, yeah, and it's given rotation, then there is another side to that object, a mirror side. And the thing about mirrors is that they tend to reverse whatever you're looking at. Have you ever tried to read the word ambulance in your rearview mirror and then get out and see that, oh, something changed? Right. The thing about mirrors is that they tend to reverse things. All right, so we move on to dot number 6. So you got your prism, it's looking up, it's looking down, put a dot on the side of it and join the points. Do you know what you have there? You have something that's very interesting. You have something that is very interesting because it's the construction of how most Egyptian pharaohs built their pyramids. That's why they last so long. They are fortified from the base up. And so no kind of weather, no kind of time is going to erode them. And they will stay standing because of the construction and the layering. It's not just because the blocks are heavy. It's the construction. They were built to withstand the test of time. So just so that we're clear, you've built your first pyramid. It's kind of to the side if you're actually following along with us here and you got your pen and paper, right? It's kind of to the side and you will see that the base is fortified all the way through. Now, there are lots of ideas about what the pyramids were actually meant to represent. Some people say they're landing pads for spaceships. Some people say that they're like just monuments to a dead time. And I say it's a feat of architecture based on the knowledge of things that are spiritual and things that are very much 3D. Because these pyramids have literally defied time and showed that time is of no consequence when it is that you know what you're doing. So we got to move on. And we're going to put the 7th dot, which is on the other side. And then you have the lattice structure of a diamond. For those of you who paid attention in your physics class and your chemistry class, diamond is the hardest substance on Earth, also defies time by a lot. and it defies time because its lattice structure is such that it's so layered and condensed and compacted. There's so many levels to it that it cannot be broken easily. You guys are getting where I'm coming from with this, right? You understand? Because I'm literally showing you how time is of no consequence when mathematics is implemented and utilized properly. The lattice structure of a diamond is what we created. And Pythagoras, I suspect, knew all of these things because he was literally teaching people how to build things that are like, that defy this concept of time, things that will last over a period of years. Yeah, well, they're not making things like they used to. If you ever done any house repairs, you understand what I mean. But anyway, the point that we're trying to make is that an understanding and application of mathematics is not just 3D. It is esoteric as well. So like Amir, as an example, when it is that you get into these kinds of discussions with people and they're talking about how this esoteric world is very, very difficult, it can be broken down into very, very simple constructs. And if you understand the keys that we're giving you right now, you could absolutely see where you might be going wrong in your practice. You absolutely can. Amir, absolutely. I'm going to push this over to you.
So you mentioned the pyramids. Well, basically, they are a testament to a certain peak of civilization. So built in a material that is inert, in a configuration that is immortal, that is eternal. And just the general shape of the structure isn't the only clue of a peak of civilization. There are so many things built into the dimensions and form of the structure that leave very little doubt that whoever it was that actually constructed these buildings knew quite a lot about reality, not just physical reality, but all domains of existence. And then, David, you mentioned the structure of a diamond, or the carbon atom for that matter, how it configures in different forms, and the diamond being the most stable. If we want to build vehicles, buildings, let's say spacecraft that are eternal also, we need to consider the atomic layout of the materials, how they actually melt together, and consider sacred geometry in this. So that's something that is done experimentally with trial and error. But to my awareness, sacred geometry has not been introduced correctly. And as David correctly said, once you understand the fundamentals, then your way is lit brightly. You won't be walking in the darkness anymore. You have rules of the universe. Understanding those rules make the job a lot easier. So yes, we have a lot to do, much catching up to do to reach the level of understanding of the people who built the pyramids. If you think this was done by a group of slaves or people who didn't know much about construction, geometry, architecture, mathematics, and quantum physics, well, you really got to think. So just because they were ancient doesn't mean they were not advanced.
Correct. And you know what's actually funny about it? A diamond is made, first of all, of the carbon, compressed carbon. You want to know what else is made out of carbon?
Graphene, graphite.
You're a carbon-based life form. You're a carbon-based life form. That's what else is made out of carbon. So anytime you think, if somebody says to you, man, you're soft, he says, nah, I'm made out of the same material a diamond is.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. And Carbon only becomes a diamond, guess what? Under pressure, when it is compressed. And then it turns into one of the most precious materials on earth. Take a lesson. What's in is out, quad intra extra. What happens out there in the elemental world should teach you a lesson about how you are forged into the gem that you are. And so I left off at number 6.
1 to 7.
Yeah, so the symbols that you could find with 6 points are hexagram, Star of David, you know, the triangle pointing up and the triangle pointing down. So for those of you who don't know, the triangle that is pointed up is when you're actually drawing it correctly. One is black pointing down and the other one is white pointing up, so that we're clear. And what it is supposed to represent is that a world in reflection of itself, triangle going up, triangle going down. And what that means to you as an individual, it means that you are in connection with the universe in a sort of value of correspondence. So as you think, your thoughts are ethereal. They're floating up. As the universe reflects your thoughts, they come back down into density. So if you want to understand why gravity works the way it does, I throw something up in the air and it comes back down. Your thoughts, when you are emanating thoughts, whether you're in magical practice or so on, understand this principle. The circle around that hexagram really is supposed to represent the universal laws that are binding you. The universe is binding you. When you think, your thoughts are, well, for want of a better word, non-manifest. When it comes back down, it's coming back down as density. Now, the problem that most people have with magic, I suspect most of the time, is that they're not quite sure how to aim properly and how to receive properly. These are the big problems, because they may throw something up in the air, but they're not sure when it's coming back down. And that's the problem. Oh, I want a job, but they're not sure where the opportunity is going to come and how it's going to come. And then they're not quite sure whether or not I should actually be banking on that opportunity coming. And this is too much to cover in this episode once again, but let me explain to you. The concept of the hexagram is a very important one because it's a representation of how knowledge works, how understanding and manifestation works. Up and down, as above, so below. And that means more than just some sort of cliche thing. It literally means as above, so below. In every walk of life, your messed up thoughts will affect the body below. It will. Your magical thoughts, your while practicing magic, will affect the universe around you. Your wishing, so to speak, will affect the universe around you. And as above, so below is all throughout. The clouds do not exist without the land and the sea beneath them. They just don't. You guys understand that, right? So I suppose that would be number 6.
We did, yes.
And we're
So
moving
before
on
you
to...
move to 7,
Go ahead, tell
we've
me.
already covered the alchemical representation of all 5 elements. And up to this point, we've already covered the hermetic laws of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really amazing how from these numbers and their, let's say, multi-dimensional representation in space, all these philosophies are emerging already.
Correct.
We've only hit number 6.
We've only hit number 6, correct. Because things become very interesting after 6. So you have number 7, and then you have your perfect diamond, and with the lattice structure of a diamond, and that thing is immutable. You can't break it. It has layers inside layers inside layers, starting with the monad. And the reason why people think of 7 as a lucky number 7, is because it doesn't have to have it. It's nothing to do with luck. You have made a creation, or you've made yourself into a creation that is unchangeable. So at 6, I could see you getting tripped up on the manifestation and stuff like that. But at lucky number 7, you're bridging out of this idea of the up and the down. The down and the up are one. You're understanding that the down and the up are one. So I don't want to get too complicated here. Let me explain to you what I mean. At 6, you're thinking, I need to manifest, so I'll do the ritual and so on and so on. Or I'll do this magic or so on. At number 7, when you understand that you have become the diamond, all the forging elements, all the energies are you. You are that thing. Does that make sense? You are that thing. You are
different level.
You're walking magic. Lucky number 7.
Yes, okay. Yes. Super magicians, super manifestors. It's that expression of abrahadabra. I speak and so therefore it is. That's this level. There's no delay anymore.
There is no delay.
No ritual or dancing around the fire is needed. It's just a thought that becomes manifest instantly. That's some next level stuff.
Yes, this is the construct of lucky number 7. Lucky number 7 is really just an idea form that there is a connection that is unbreakable. At number 7, you are not part of nature. You are nature. You are everything. You're understanding the concept of everythingness. And you're probably thinking, well, there can't be anything higher than this. But no, we're going to go to number 8, the octad. We're at the heptad, now we're at the octad. So now, number 8, you're probably thinking, okay, so where do you go from here? Well, let me explain to you that people who have understood number 7 and understood that manifestation is just as simple as I think it, and so it is. I say it, and so it is. I express it, and so it is. So mote it be. I'm going to say it from different traditions. So mote it be. Or like, let's try, you Star Trek fans. Make it so. I think it, and so it is. And so when you reach at that level, you realize, why am I even manifesting things? I am manifestation. And then you get into the octad, which is number 8, which is the Christ consciousness, which is the understanding that I am dissolving into the universe. At that point in time, the concept of death is like, oh, it's like death is looking like looking at a piece of cheese in your fridge. Oh, that's just another thing that's there. You're removing the concept of death. You're understanding universality and infinity at the same time. I'm talking about levels of consciousness here. And if you understand that concept, the concept of manifestation is now a moot point. It's irrelevant. Manifestation is a moot point. It is irrelevant. And so you guys are thinking, how is that a good thing? I don't know. Why don't you ask the number of monks who have reached that level and they don't want anything? You can't give them a Rolls Royce. You can't give them a BMW. You can't give them anything because, but why? It seems so ridiculous. Why would I want that? That would be Christ consciousness. Why would I want that? I don't understand. It's just another block of cheese in my fridge. In my fridge, in our fridge, in the universe's fridge. It's just another block of cheese. And when people have difficulty understanding people of different levels of thinking, it is because they don't understand that the mind goes through different levels and you're climbing a particular ladder, which will lead you back to a certain place. And so at the number 8, you're understanding infinity is the only way to say that. You're understanding everythingness. And so you're not checking for McDonald's or anything like that. You're not checking for the BMW. You're not checking for a whole bunch of things, because all of these things become irrelevant. They become a matter of irrelevance. And so even these people, when you meet someone like that, there is nothing that you could do to threaten them. He's like, I'm going to put a hex on you. Okay, that's just another block of cheese in my fridge. I don't care whether you put a hex on me or not. Like, right, I'm going to put you in jail. Okay, which one? You want me to show up, or whatever the case may be? So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about the expansion of mind. Now, I'm going to let Amir jump in here, because, as I said, this is going to go on for a while. So go ahead, Amir.
And so again, within these numbers, we've reached number 8, which is the understanding of our infinite nature. And I say our infinite nature because it is the nature of all of us. We are all that infinity. Mm-hmm. Nobody is not that. In that all that exists, we are just the same thing. We are all that block of cheese in the fridge of the universe, and we are the fridge and we are the universe. It's an interesting state of consciousness to reach. And of course, once that is understood, the most important byproduct is the disappearance of desire. Desire is gone. Fear, desire, it is all gone. You're thinking about exiting the cycle of death and rebirth, that reincarnation cycle that many people hate. They think of this existence as a rat race. You're running on the treadmill just to be born into a new rat suit to run more on the treadmill. Well, when you raise your level of awareness to this state, that is also gone. You have total freedom because you are everything. So that fear of reincarnation, desire to reincarnate, that's all eliminated. So David, let's move on. What's beyond the beautiful stage? We've got one more single digit to go.
So imagine that you understood infinity and everythingness, and you understand it's a realization that everything is everything. Everything is just another block of cheese in the fridge. It's kind of cool, but it's a block of cheese in the fridge. And you feel towards everything the way you feel towards that block of cheese in the fridge. Okay, some of y'all might really desire the block of cheese in your fridge, but generally speaking, it's not something that people spend a lot of time like, wake up at night like that block of cheese, is it still there? Most people generally don't do that. And if you do that, I'm sorry for using that analogy. However, the point that I'm trying to make is that imagine that if everything is a block of cheese in the fridge, then everything begins to stop. Number 9, the bridge. Number 9 is the bridge. There are a lot of people who reach number 9 and they're like, yeah, it's time to get out. Number 9 is the reintegration with the universe. And I mean reintegration at the atomic level. I'll explain to you what we've been doing in those counting that we're doing. I'm beginning to feel like the Count on Sesame Street. So what we've been doing is explaining to you how the mind moves from, this is my BMW, right? Let's start from the beginning. There is an idea of a BMW because I've moved away. So I have right? I got to manifest the idea. So I draw it on paper. And it's like, oh, that's a really cool BMW because I see it on the paper. I drawn it. I create the BMW. There's now a full car in front of me. Okay. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is the BMW, the ultimate vehicle. Well, it isn't, but you know what I mean. I'm using that as an analogy. And then you're like, I have a BMW. So I have to create the anti-BMW. We're creating a what? Pinto, Fiat? I don't know what the opposite of BMW is. I couldn't care less. Right? We're creating a Chevy Spark or one of those little smart cars. So we're doing the anti-BMW. It's economical, it's small, probably runs on electricity that you can't find a charging station for. And you say that that's the anti-BMW. And so because it's an anti-BMW, you look at your BMW, it's mine. It's mine. And you start to manifest based on the BMW. So I got the BMW, I got to get the hot babe or the hot man, as the case may be. And you're manifesting a world or identity around that BMW. But then lo and behold, you realize after a while, when you grow up a little bit and you're not a materialistic asshole, you realize it's just a car. Shit. Right? It's just a car. It takes me from place to place. It has some cool features. I mean, like, why do I need a leather heated seats and I live in the tropics, as an example, or whatever the case may be, like, just warm it up a little bit more. All right. You start to realize it's just a car. And when it cuts to that point where you realize it's just a car, you've moved past that point. And you began to realize that your identity is not the BMW. You move away from the BMW. And then because you moved away from the BMW, you're moving away also from the idea that you are a creator of a BMW. And then the BMW loses its value with regard to your personality and your identity. And so the BMW becomes a block of cheese in your fridge. The idea of a BMW becomes a block of cheese in your fridge. What the hell am I doing? Who am I really? And then you start to move towards who I am, and then you begin to realize, oh shit, there's a whole world out here. Oh shit. I was looking at this BMW and attaching it to my identity, but there's a whole world out here. We got Fiats, we got Chevys, we got Mitsubishi, we got all sorts of different things out there, and they're all blocks of cheese in the fridge. And then the blocks of cheese become less interesting because I'm like, what's causing all those blocks of cheese in the fridge? All these people who were like me, BMW creators. And you move away from that and you understand that they're just like you. And you start to raise your consciousness past that point into a place where you understand that, where did I come off the train tracks? And you try to find your way back home. See how you become that diamond when you try to find your way back home? Enough of this shit. And then you realize that everything stops in front of you. The BMWs, the Chevys, the Mitsubishis, I don't know any other car thingies. Toyotas. Everything stops in front of you and you realize this is all just a really distracting game. And then you begin to see the patterns and you realize, I've been experiencing a distracting game. I'm tired of the game now. Reintegration is happening. You see that still point that you come to? Enough. You get to that enough point. And then all you want is to see the game, but not from afar. Not from here, from afar. Because you realize the game is all of this is your creation. And to be quite honest with you, I'm going to put a topic in here that's going to probably blow the minds of people. We are all each other's creations. And so eventually, when you see this game and you start to move back to the monad, there's a still point that you reach, in which case nothing happens because nothing needs to happen. And there's only one place to go from here, which is back to one. because people like to say that 10 is a figure, is a number. It's actually not. It's actually just 1 plus 0, and that comes back to one unity. And I have described a whole bunch of stories for you. Every story you've ever heard, the hero's journey, the heroine's journey, whatever the case may be, it's all wrapped up into this idea of mind expansion, trying to get back to where you actually were before and get back onto the train tracks of infinity. And that, dear friends, is my spiel. Amir, over to you.
A round of applause, my dear friend. Oh my God. I was just smiling listening to that. That was amazing. And so, well, here we see described the whole cycle of evolution for consciousness. How it starts with the all, then there's division and separation, and then there's that evolution and ascension back to the all. So it ties in nicely to the whole expanding cosmos and how this would explain infinite cycles of rebirth, not just for the human, but for the cosmos, for the universe. What happened before the Big Bang? Here we go. Previous cycles of ascension and expansion. And so what would be the point of this? Well, that journey comes with great rewards of experience, of sensation, of wisdom, of feeling, of knowledge, variety in its infinity. That is the purpose. So there's a well-known story that the Prime Creator wanted to experience itself or themselves. And therefore this whole journey of division, experiencing everything in its infinite, in all its infinity of possibility, and then coming back, being more enriched, and then doing it all over again. But that journey is beautiful. That moment when you realize that BMW isn't really doing anything for you, it's just another block of cheese, and you ask that question, how many blocks of cheese can I actually eat?
Yeah.
Which is a very profound question. I mean, if you've got an 18-wheeler, refrigerated 18-wheeler full of blocks of cheese, you're going to go tired of cheese. You're going to start hating cheese. You're going to say, damn this cheese. I'm not going to touch cheese ever again. You may become a vegan like David did. And you see that transformation comes ascension. When you realize, no, these things are transient. They just give a momentary satisfaction of achievement, and then it is gone, like the wind. It does not remain. It just, beyond its utility, it has no value. And then you start thinking, okay, what am I? What am I here for? What am I doing? Where am I going? And you start climbing the ladder further and further until you're infinite again. Is that not beautiful? This whole thing is mind-boggling when you really go down into the detail and observe this profound beauty in the fundamentals of our universe. And so, by the way, in this whole journey through the numbers, we've described most of the, if not all of the esoteric traditions of the world. Beyond just our world, let's just say, if there's another civilization somewhere out there, if they study how reality is made, how consciousness operates, they'll come to the same conclusions. Perhaps.
Yeah. I honestly, if you are listening to this broadcast and you stop for a moment and just contemplate what we're saying, the funny thing about mind expansion is that you don't have to do complicated practices for it to happen. You just have to imagine, and you are there. That's the problem that most people have. They think that things are difficult. They think that, well, David, this is a really complicated process. It'll take several years and so on. No, it'll take exactly 1 second. And in that scope, we're going to probably do an exercise right now that I'm going to talk you all through because, well, we're here, you're watching us. So this is the exercise that we're going to go through. I would like y'all to close your eyes because I know some of your minds are very, very distracted, and it's quite simple. Okay. Right now, I want all the thoughts to come inside your minds that are actually distracting you. I'm talking about the grocery bill. I'm talking about going to work. I'm talking about the kids screaming. I'm talking about all those things, the spouse that's giving you problems and stuff like that. I want to experience all of those things now. Like all the things that bother you, experience them. Let them come to the top of your mind. The top of your mind. I'm going to let y'all sit in that for a moment. You got the kids. You got Thanksgiving coming up. You got Christmas coming up. I don't have time to be doing this stupid crap with David and Amir on this show. Like, we don't have the time for this. I want all of those thoughts come to the top of your head right now. Stay with me. Now, take a little shift here. Imagine if all of those thoughts that are happening and all these experiences that are happening are of no consequence to you because you are an infinite being and you have control over everything. It doesn't matter if you were thrown out of your house. It doesn't matter if you didn't make the car payment. It doesn't matter if you're defaulting on debt. It doesn't matter what trouble you're in. For one moment, rise above it and imagine yourself as an infinite being. And look at these things beneath you. Look at all these experiences beneath you. Remove yourself from them. In that little movement that you have made, where you can move yourself away from what is happening emotionally, see yourself as the controller of all of those things. In that little movement that you have made, there is some relief. But why stop there? Why stop there? Imagine if all of those things were actually unnecessary. They're just blocks of cheese in the fridge. They are just experiences. They're just experiences. And they're keeping you on a treadmill. And look at them from behind that veil. And understand that whatever's happening behind that veil is happening to your 3D self, and it has nothing to do with the self that is looking at these things. And I'm going to ask you one very simple question. Can you turn away from the veil and think that I came from somewhere? And all of those things are keeping me away from where I came from. All of those things behind the veil are keeping me away from where I came from. And where I came from, there is no need for any of that. No matter how attached I am to those things, there is no need for any of it. Lastly, imagine yourself as part of creation. Dissolve yourself into the atomic structure of the entire world around you. Your mind is everything around you. It's everyone and everything. Don't do it from the point of view of, oh, now I could see I can manifest. Do it from the point of view of just experiencing everything around you. And I don't mean you sitting in a chair or lying in a bed or standing wherever you're standing in your kitchen. Reach out and connect with everything around you, the house, the chair, dissolve yourself into all of these things. There is no limitation. You're not just dissolving yourselves into the things in your house or your environment. Let it expand. Feel everything. Start expanding outward, upward, the trees outside your house, the people. Spread, expand, reach. Down into the earth, understand everything. If I gave you all the time and space in the world, would you reach the outer solar system? Would you reach farther than that? Do you understand there is no time and there is no space? It is just a matter of how far your mind can reach. How far you can reach. Some of y'all may not get out of your hometown. But if you're given enough time and you do this kind of exercise, do it more than once. Do it more than once a week. You will notice that you begin to detach from the things, the experiences that are behind the veil. You're going to notice that you're going to detach from these things because you are becoming an infinite being. And the gravity that is dragging you towards those experiences is not going to hold you when you engage the gravity that is dragging you back to unity. Inhale, everyone, and let it go. For those of you who got any part of that correct, any part of it correct, you are experiencing shifts and levels of mind without dancing around a fire, without dancing about anything. You just chose to do so. And once you choose to do so, then so it is. So it is. You don't need to become enlightened over a period of 20-something years. What is happening over 20-something years is that you're detaching the gravity that is keeping you down here on earth. That's what's happening, not reaching enlightenment. You could reach enlightenment in 5 minutes. But can you hold that space is the next question. And that's what takes time. And that is the end of today's show. Amir, last word is at you.
Thank you so much, David. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was decades of esoteric work compressed into this beautiful, elegant form. And as David says, if you've done any of it correctly, you should be feeling a profound sense of peace right now. Because that is the natural state of being infinite, that peace, that bliss. What else can I add to this? Please, ladies and gentlemen, watch this many, many times. There's a lot of stuff that went on in this broadcast. Yes. And kudos to you, my dear teacher, my esteemed teacher, David. That was amazing.
Thank you, Abir. Guys, we are hosting some events. We're going to come out with a course on spirituality really soon to teach you all of those things, because I know a lot of people are struggling with their practice. You guys email me and y'all tell me the issues that y'all are having. And I want to make your practice more simple. Okay, because a lot of people get caught up on knowledge, but they never apply it. All the stuff we said in this broadcast is useless to you. It's just brain food until you actually apply it, like we did in this exercise where we're moving through the levels. And it is the moving through the levels until such time as you don't need to watch the show anymore. You can just float whenever you want. To float and to be free is a most excellent thing. And a lot of people don't experience that on a daily basis. They are very, very shut down and closed up in their environments. And we really hope that this show can actually assist you guys in, well, getting somewhere, because the worst thing is stagnancy. So if you guys have any further questions on this, you can email us at info@universalcitizentv.com, or you can join our community app where we are usually there. That community app was made for the esoteric wellness and healing professionals, and it was made so that we can collaborate and have discussions like these. So anyway, that's our show for today. Take care, you guys.